What could be more inconvenient than having a passion for dining out and then discovering that you have a food allergy that will forever affect your eating habits?
Worst thing ever. Well, a new website, NOBREAD.com, is the foodie's guide to gluten-free menus. Here to tell us all about the site and how you can choose healthier options is founder Nichole Cogan and award-winning chef and author of Hero Food, Seamus Mullen. Welcome to the show, guys.
Welcome, guys.
Thanks for having us.
Now, Nichole, 5 years ago, you discovered you had an allergy to gluten. Tell us that story, because it was part of your job to actually dine out all the time.
Yeah, so I was working at JP Morgan for about 3 years, and I was an equity sales analyst where the biggest part of the job is to take your clients out to the best restaurants in New York City.
Good job, fun job.
My problems weren't real. So I had to constantly take people out, and I never knew what I could order, especially when you're dining with a large group. And that sparked my interest in, you know, wanting to help myself, and then also wanting to be able to tell people, you know, this is what I had, this is what you can eat, and that is what gave birth to NOBREAD.
So how does the website work? Everybody can go to the website and find out just different places in their city? Is it worldwide? Or?
So right now we're in New York. I've been back and forth between New York and LA. We're starting our national expansion. And you go to the website and it's your dining guide to all things gluten-free at the restaurant. So you go to a restaurant's page and you know, is there gluten-free bread? Is there gluten-free pasta? You can have this item, and there's a menu filtering feature where you can actually see a custom gluten-free menu down to every ingredient.
Wow.
Especially, you know, you can order the kale salad, just no croutons, and it shows you exactly what's gluten-free and how to order.
So you've done a lot of research on this.
Oh, yes.
That's great. Now, Seamus, you have your own story. You're a chef, of course, award-winning chef. You own 3 restaurants. You were also on Food Network's Iron Chef. You're one of the finalists, so many things. But you discovered that you had your own health issue when it comes to eating, and that's affected your approach to food now.
Absolutely.
Tell us about that.
Yeah, I was living with rheumatoid arthritis, which is a chronic inflammatory disease, for many years, and I felt pretty awful all the time. And I realized that there was right in front of me a huge answer to my problems, and it was really had a lot to do with what I was eating and how I was eating. And through some changes to my diet and with help from my doctor, I really discovered that there was a lot I could do to affect the disease and affect my own health. And I made a lot of changes, and amongst them took gluten out of my diet and saw a radical improvement in how I felt. So that was the foundation for writing my book, Hero Food, and it really filters its way into my restaurants as well.
Okay, so both of you are gluten-free. How did you guys come together, and how are you helping people eat healthier?
So that's the beauty of NOBREAD, especially with what I'm doing, is I have the opportunity to go to these restaurants, meet people like Seamus, especially some chefs who have similar backstories to me, and then it's just, you can talk forever about, you know, making your restaurant more accessible to everyone, especially there are people, I'm gluten-free, I'm also dairy-free, but it's just a cool collaboration amongst myself and chefs to showcase to everyone, you know, you can eat here.
That's great. And you actually have some dishes with you today that are all gluten-free. So let's start off over here. So, everything looks delicious.
So what we do is we do in our restaurants traditional Spanish food, but I try to do it in a way that offers options that are for people that like ourselves, that don't eat gluten. And so this is a take on a very traditional Spanish dish that's called tosta matrimonio. Matrimonio means matrimony. Or,
Try saying that.
Exactly.
Try eating
so it's called matrimonio because you have the bride and the groom. You have a black and white anchovy. So the bride and groom. So it's both anchovies. And instead of doing it on toast the way it's typically done, this is on a flaxseed cracker. So and I just finished
what's
a little
this
bit.
that you're scooping on?
Now this is just a little bit of balsamic vinegar, aged balsamic vinegar. That goes
It's
right
very
up.
thick, though.
So that, it's aged. It's an aged balsamic vinegar. So it's got a really nice flavor. So
and is this goat cheese?
And there's a little sheep's milk cheese underneath it. So it's a soft sheep's milk cheese.
Pass it on down, Chef.
All right, here you guys.
While you're telling us about it,
you guys can jump in there.
Stomach rumble.
Yeah, exactly. So that's that.
Okay, what do we have next?
So this is a beet salad.
I'll try one too.
And jump in there. They're really good.
This is amazing.
Might make a little mess, but they're really good. So this is roasted beets, which have been smoked as well, and then pickled beets, and then we have some horseradish, and I'm going to finish it with just a little more fresh horseradish, which I'll just grate over the top.
The cheese really makes that pop, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's nice, right?
It's delicious.
And then just a little fresh horseradish. And so there's a couple of different kinds of beets. There's raw, there's pickled, there's roasted and smoked, and they're all in there, and that gets lots of flavor in that. Get this out of the way. If you guys want to jump in and try
we're gonna
by
have
that.
to taste it.
Yeah, exactly.
Here's a fork for you.
Jump in there.
Nicole, can you
Thank
explain
you.
a little bit more about gluten? What is it? Everyone keeps saying gluten-free this, gluten-free that, but what exactly is gluten?
So gluten is a protein in wheat, and it's what gives dough its elasticity. So it really holds together the bread. So if you have celiac disease, for example, and you can't tolerate that, and it affects your small intestine. Other people, I just have a severe gluten intolerance, and it causes an inflammatory response in your body. So I can't process that wheat.
Got it.
So,
Now, is it good for everyone to stay away from gluten? Because I've heard that as well. Even if you're not allergic to gluten, is this something that everyone should be thinking about staying away from?
I think one of the issues now is that so much of the wheat that we consume has been hybridized and has a higher gluten content than naturally in the older varieties of wheat. And for anyone that has any kind of inflammatory issue, it's a good idea to look at your diet. And gluten can certainly be it's one of the first broad strokes that it's easy to take out of your diet and see if you feel better when you do it. It usually takes about 6 weeks for most people to notice a difference if they take it out of their diet. But I certainly recommend if anyone's dealing with inflammation, it's a good place to start.
All right, well, let's start down here.
Yeah,
what else you have?
So, and Nichole, can you help me just finish a little bit here? So there's a little shaved celery and some fennel as well. And this is some grilled octopus that has chickpeas in it, and then a little quinoa cake underneath it. So again, we're giving some starch and the same idea that you would get from doing something that might have a grain, but instead quinoa is a grain that doesn't have any gluten in it, and it's got a lot of protein in it, a lot of fiber in it. It's very healthy, and it just is a nice way to bring all those flavors of the Mediterranean together, but to take out some of the stuff that you might typically find in gluten.
Okay, we love that.
So you can jump in there.
Is there such thing as gluten-free bread, or all bread has gluten?
no, so there is gluten-free bread.
Okay.
You know, when I first went gluten-free a few years ago, it was very hard to come by, especially when you did find it, to find some good gluten-free bread. So now chefs have really taken it upon themselves to kind of outdo each other and see who can come up with the best gluten-free breads. And there's all these gluten-free products companies. And what's cool about this dish over here was that we used a flax cracker. And that's another way of, instead of using the gluten-free bread alternative, to take another grain and create that bread.
Wow.
And it gives that crispiness. I think that's one of the things that people end up missing most when they're taking gluten out of their diet. They miss the crunch that you get from toast or you get from a cracker.
That carbohydrate, yeah.
But you can get that from using toasted nuts. Caramelized nuts is a great way. Seeds or other ways. And then, of course, you can make things like this, like the flaxseed cracker that we make. And it can be, the one thing I would caution people when they're looking at gluten-free products is look at the amount of sugar that's in it, because oftentimes, you know, some of the more industrialized products have a lot of sugar in there.
Well, I'm just going to go to the website, NOBREAD.com, make it easy for me, because I can't keep up with it all. Thank you guys so much for visiting us.
Great
Thanks for
tips.
having
Thank you
us.
so
Thank
much.
you for having us.
Yes, I'm going to go ahead and take this and put it right back.
Right.
Thank you, guys.